Assalamu alaikum, everyone, and welcome back to This Hijabi Life. I'm your host, Hakeemah, and on this show, we talk to Muslim women about their journey with hijab, with business, with faith, and the journey of being visibly Muslim in the modern world. Now, one of my favorite types of content creators, if you're on TikTok, if you're on Instagram, you know that these short videos that are really impactful with inspiration, with God consciousness, this is one of my favorite types of content. You could be scrolling through things that are relatable to you, but when someone is able to pierce your heart with a little 10-second video that packs humor, that packs a good message about God consciousness, fear of Allah, it's one of the best little tidbits that you can scroll through on your phone. And our guest today, Amanda, does that in the most unique way with her Allahumma Barik TikTok videos. And what you might not know about Amanda is that she has an incredible story to tell about changing her lifestyle from one way towards Islam. And I want to invite Amanda to come on the screen. I'm so excited to talk to you, Amanda. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam. Thank you so much for having me. It's a blessing.
Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. I'm so excited to talk to you. Like I said, you're one of my faves when I'm scrolling through my phone. I'm like, what is Amanda talking about today? Oh, yes. I love all of your videos, mashallah. And we're not only here to talk about your social media presence, which of course is very, very impactful, but we're also here to talk about your story, because I think everybody comes from somewhere and that informs who they are as a woman today. So mashallah, I wanted to start at the beginning, as I do with a lot of my guests, because I think who you are today is also who you were as a child, or at least it started out there. So right. What's your story? Like, where were you born? Where were you raised? Where does your story begin?
Okay, so I was born and raised in West Palm Beach, Florida. That's where I'm from. My parents are originally from Sudan, and my dad was the first one to come here. Then he married my mom and brought her here. So growing up, I had a pretty stable childhood. I was raised with both parents. We've always had food, water. We never really struggled too hard financially, but it wasn't until I was around 5 years old when my father, who is 6'3" in height, by the way, he broke his back. So once he broke his back, it took a toll on my mother and me, because I'm a daddy's girl. I'm very close to my dad. I love my dad. Every girl needs her dad. And when he broke his back, my mom told me, she said, he's not gonna come home today. So when she said that, I'll never forget that day, because it really hurt me. And that he was the household provider, he provided for us financially. He's the one that really took care of us. Mm-hmm. So for him to break his back and be in the hospital, it was a big deal. And he was in the hospital for not even like a few months, but like more like a year. It was like at least 1 to 2 years where he wasn't home, because after the hospital, he went to rehab. And, so that took a toll on my childhood. And that's really, where we came from. So from the ages 6 to 8 years old, he was around, but he wasn't really home like that because he was healing. And then after that, he came home, and I never really was raised with the Deen. My mom she had to work extra hard because her husband, he wasn't able to, really do what he can as a man. So also my dad is in business as well. So he didn't work a job. He was in business. So this, this is all, it ties in together. I really wasn't raised with the Deen because my mom was so focused on working, and my dad was like healing as an individual. So my first time ever picking up the Quran book was when I was around 7 years old. Okay. And I tried to read it. That same Quran book you see in the back right there, that same book right there.
Yeah.
I tried to read it, and I couldn't understand the words. The words were too big. So I put it down, and I never picked up ever since. All I knew about Islam was to stay away from the major sins. I knew about the major sins. And I know my mom and my dad, they prayed every day. Yeah. They prayed, I just knew they prayed. I didn't have any religious friends. My friends, they didn't really come from stable households or, faith-related households. Yeah. So that took a toll on who I was as an individual, and what I seen, what I paid attention to, what I talked about, what I looked at, what I believed was right and what was wrong, So that's how my childhood was.
Yeah, I mean, it's important that you mention, that were very close to your father, and that trauma, if I can use the word trauma, of him not being able to show up because of that injury. Did it spark something in you where you felt like you had to step up in some kind of way at a young age, maybe take on more responsibility or guide yourself in some kind of way, in a way that maybe comparatively like 6 to 8 year olds usually are not?
Honestly, I was still young.
Yeah.
I wasn't really thinking about being a leader. I'm just a girl. I like heels. I was just I used to dress up when I was young, do makeup. Like I was just a girl. But my father was still around. He was still around. He just wasn't able to do like manly things. Like lift up
Mm,
heavy items or. But I was able to talk to him. I just low key felt like something was missing.
missing.
you know Something was missing, and I didn't know if it was my mother or my father or what it was. But now that I'm older, looking back, it was the Deen. I remember when I was around that time frame, I had a dream. I
Mm-hmm.
had a dream, and subhanallah. So this dream, basically, I was sleeping, and I don't know how to explain it, but basically I seen like a large like figure. Like this wasn't no jinn, this wasn't no angel, this was bigger than an angel, right? And what I believe that I didn't see Allah, but it was like to know that there is a God, So
Mm-hmm.
so basically what I seen was, a book. I seen a big book. It was so big. And I seen a pen. And the pen was writing itself. Nobody was touching the pen. The pen was just moving by itself.
Yeah.
And there was like angels. I seen angels, but the angels were so small. Like they weren't like it's like I don't know how to explain it, but there were like angels there and I was there. And I was just seeing the pen writing. And there were so many people, like so many angels, so many just figures, just creation beings behind this pen and the being with the book. I hope I'm explaining it right. Yes.
No, I mean, I'm there, like I'm envisioning it.
Yeah, I was super
Yeah.
young when I had that dream. I didn't understand it. I told my mom, I said, Mom, I think I seen God in my dream. And she said, No, you didn't. I didn't see it. I didn't see any face, but it
Yeah.
was just for me to know that you're not alone, because I did feel alone. I
Yeah.
definitely felt alone. My
Yeah.
mom worked a regular job. My dad, he didn't understand me. I'm a young girl. So, yeah,
Yeah. Wow, that's a powerful dream,
yeah.
and I think dreams either come from Allah or they come from shaitan, right? And if that dream is memorable to you right now as something that was impactful, something beautiful, I mean, just the imagery of that book, that pen writing itself, I mean, we don't even have to say anything more than that. Like that, I feel like that's a dream from Allah. That's not, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So subhanallah, thanks for telling us a little bit about, where you came from and a little bit of your childhood. Now, I know that between childhood and how old are you right now? 23?
Yeah, 23.
23. You took a path in life, right? And we'll talk a little bit more about that. But I was scrolling through your TikToks last night. You probably saw the notification. Oh, CMB Styling has lectured this, I'm like watching all of your videos in preparation for the interview. And I came to this one and you said in the TikTok, I've been through a lot in my life, and who I am today is not even me. It's only by the grace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I'm not perfect, never been, never will, but I will always be real. Right. And I think that summarizes a lot of, maybe what we'll be getting into. But that realness it's very authentic. Sometimes people are performing something for social media, but there's really nothing to perform when you've had a life that now you've grown from and that you can teach people about, So can we get into a little bit about what you meant by, you've gone through things in your life? Like we talked about, what happened when you were a child, having this beautiful childhood, but having just that little bit of missing piece. And then the dream, and you're probably on a path towards, adolescence, teenager, young adulthood. What were you referring to?
So what I was referring to was I've been through a lot. When I was 16, I had a near-death experience. It changed. I had a whole paradigm shift from that near-death experience. Almost lost my life, like completely. Long story short, I was in a car. The car was moving too fast. made a wrong turn, hit a rail, flipped upside down, and was in a canal. You know, we're in Florida, there's a lot of canals everywhere, little bodies of water. So the car was upside down, underwater, in a canal. And
in it.
yes, I was in it. Had to swim out.
Subhanallah. Wow, that's my biggest fear, Amanda. Like, that is my biggest fear. Subhanallah. Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
So that was one thing. I've been through, of course, heartbreak, betrayals. Anytime you need someone, they're not there. I kept finding myself in the same space of people are not who you think they are. You only have Allah. Okay. You don't have nobody else. It doesn't matter. Family, friends, you have Allah. Because that's who really cares about you and your well-being. Everyone lives for themselves. And so it's me, 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 me. And me, I'm just like such this selfless, like giving person. When I do things for people, I don't do it for anything in return. I do it because I genuinely want you to win. I genuinely want you to succeed. Like, I like seeing people win. I like doing good things for others. That's just what I like to do. So I feel like when it came to, for me, it's always people wanted something from me. I don't want anything from anyone. I go to Allah. I go to my God. I go to myself. Like I do it myself. I don't go to anyone for help, really. So when people come to me, and it's like, I can't come to you, and it's like the same thing, and I'm 23 now. So when I say what I've been through heartbreak, betrayal. I've been through disappointment. I've been through deep, like, loss. I'm talking about major loss, losses that would have made another person give up. That's what I mean by what I've been through.
Inshallah. Okay. So we're going to get a little bit more into, that journey, right? That you've grown through. But we do have to take a little break, and then we'll be back and talk more with Amanda. Welcome back to This Hijabi Life. Just before the break, we had started talking to Amanda from Soul Royalty. She's also a TikTok star and a motivational Islamic speaker. And we've been talking about your life kind of as a child, some things you've gone through. And you mentioned right before the break an accident that you had, unfortunately. And you mentioned a word as if that was a transformative moment for you. So can you talk more about that moment and what it transformed in your life?
Right. So prior to the accident, I was a little bit more negative. I was negative. You know how people can be so, like, cynical and just the world is, look at it from like a small point of view. I was kind of like that at 16. I didn't really, of course I had my parents and I had, clothes and shoes. That's what you think about at that age, but it was still something missing, right? So I looked at the world from a completely different point of view than I do now. And once I had that accident, it's like I had a whole paradigm shift. Like, I just became more positive, like my mind I really focused on positive things. I really didn't look at things from a negative perspective anymore. So that's what really happened to me from the accident.
Yeah. So a lot of times when people have an accident like that, they actually start to blame, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and his qadr, saying like, why me? Why did that have to happen to me? And they actually go from negative to maybe even more negative. So it's refreshing to hear that something like that actually changed to a positive for you. And I think that has to be guided by faith, right? You have something, a being, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, higher than you to answer to, and who's in control of all of these things. So with you not growing up with an Islamic, when you were a child, you said maybe 7 years old was when you opened that Quran in the back right there. What has been your journey with Islam, through adolescence and like early young adulthood?
So ever since, that time, I picked up the Quran again at age 18. Okay. So I read in this one book, and they said something about there was powers in this world. So when you do good, I was like, okay, so let me look into my religion. Let me look into what my mother and my father believe in. So I read the Quran book, and everything just made sense. It just made sense. Like, I was like, wow, subhanAllah. And I knew it was the truth because it wasn't just something that I comprehended mentally, but I comprehended it spiritually in my heart. Every time I read the Quran, I felt light in my heart. That light, that peace is just something nothing in this world can ever give you that feeling in your heart but Islam. That book, the Quran, when I read that, I was amazed, and I actually fell in love with Islam. But during that time, okay, so let me backtrack a little bit. I started my business when I was 17.
Okay.
Okay. So at age 17, I was selling lashes. That was my first company. It was called Young Rich Collection. And by age 18,
Okay.
listen, I wanted to be young and rich. So that's why I named it.
Yeah, exactly.
That's why I named it Young and Rich. So by the time I was turned 18, we went from Young Rich Collection to YRC Wigs. So I started selling hair. I implemented hair. Everyone used to tell me, oh, if you start selling hair, you're going to be successful. You're going to make a lot of money, because the way that I promoted my lashes, everyone in the city loved it. Everyone was shopping with me. Everyone knew who I was because of my business. And then I got my first order in California. I woke up on the way to school. I seen I got an order in California. I said, hold on. Oh my God, I got an order in California. How did I get there? You know? So, okay, so I'm just living and stuff, 17, 18. During this time, I still didn't know Allah, right? So it wasn't until after I started the wig business, the wig company, was when I read the Quran and I got an understanding of what Islam truly is. But during that time, my business is not necessarily a halal business. So I'm still in the world. I still know the people that I know. I'm still dressing how I was dressing, how I knew to dress. So although I had the understanding and I knew what it was, I was still not, I want to say, not mature enough to completely make a transition, but I did. My first presence on TikTok was around that time frame when I, was around 18. And I came on TikTok saying I'm Muslim because I feel like I don't know, like I just have I like Islam, I like it.
Right.
I came on the internet saying I'm Muslim, but I wasn't wearing any hijab. I wasn't wearing modest clothing, so people didn't believe me. They said, "You're not Muslim. You're not Muslim." But I wasn't looking into that because I knew, who I was and I knew my character. So from age 18 up until I want to say 21, that was when my business skyrocketed. My business skyrocketed. I was set financially. This was the thing. I dropped out of college. I'm like, what am I going to college for if I'm making more money than the professor? So I just,
right.
I just decided this was my thing. This is what I was going to do.
Yeah.
Now let me go back before we blew up. So around that time frame of when I read the Quran, right? I had another dream. This is how Allah, He guides me through the dreams.
Hey, you're the dream girl.
So I had another dream. And in this dream, right, my dad, he came in the house. Okay, so my dad can walk. He's good now. He had his surgeries. He's fine, alhamdulillah now.
Alhamdulillah.
He walked in the house and he said, Amanda, your friend is waiting for you outside. And I said, who? So I got up, and instead of me going to the front door where he came out of, I went towards the window of my kitchen, right? And near the kitchen, there was like a glass sliding door. Okay. So as I'm walking towards the kitchen, I'm seeing this big, big, bright light come down, and come towards the kitchen window. And as the light was coming down, the body and the face was forming. And when I say this face had to be the most beautiful face, like nothing, words can't describe how beautiful. Nobody in this world looks like how this being looked.
Yeah.
Like, just so beautiful. Could not live in this world because everyone would be jealous. Everyone would be jealous because they don't have that face. Yeah. So just so beautiful. And what I believe it was an angel. And the angel said, I'm protecting your house. Because around that time frame, I was like kind of worried. I'm starting to make money. I have my old friends who know where I live. They can come to my house and try to, do anything, take from me. So I was worried, like, oh, what if somebody tried to come into my house and, while I have all this? The angel said, I'm protecting your house. So I was like, okay, that's the sign. And it was that light, like, subhanallah. I'll never forget that. Never forget that, because that was just a life-changing dream for me. Very life-changing. So yeah, then my business blew up. We became successful. Everyone, worldwide, global sensation of hair. Thousands of dollars a day. Like, we good. We
What?
good.
Okay.
Yeah, we straight. We are. Yeah. So
that basically.
Now I became super materialistic. Now, I'm going to tell you something. When your client tells a certain demographic, you're going to conform to that demographic. Like, think about the Arabs or the Asians who own a corner store in like the ghetto. They start speaking like their customers. They start, they might smoke a cigarette or two. They might, conform to their environment, because you're in that environment. So for me, what I was around was, I don't want to say the ghetto, but yeah. So I'm dressing like them. I'm wearing wigs like them. I'm talking like them. That's how I was. That's what I knew. That's what I grew up around as well. So I didn't see, anything too wrong with it. But I'm having everything. I'm shopping sprees galore, restaurants anywhere, travel anywhere, do whatever you want to do. But something just didn't feel right. Like something didn't feel right to me. And I just couldn't like put my finger on it. Something right. And I noticed myself, I started to become codependent on people. I couldn't be alone. Like, I just could not be alone. I always had to be around someone. Someone was there. And I remember one day I just started getting tired. You have to get tired of the lifestyle. You have to get tired of that whole environment. You have to get tired before you change. So it was just, I started getting tired of it. I said, I want to get back in the gym. Okay. I want to start reading books again. I want to get closer to God. I want to pray. I wanted to do these things. And I told my friend, I said, hey, like, let's go to the library. Let's get closer to God and, research and stuff. She said, no.
No.
She said, no, she don't want to do that. So I said, okay, I'm going to do it myself. Like, I'm strong enough to be alone. I'm strong enough to be alone, So I isolated myself from everyone, all of my friends. I got into Islam. I remember I even still have the videos on my phone. I took them down from TikTok because I wasn't wearing a hijab. I came back, I said, hey, I found God.
Yeah.
You remember me? I found God,
Yeah.
And I remember I made this one particular video. I started watching Islamic videos every single day. I made this one video talking about a hadith that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said. And I wasn't wearing the hijab, but I said it and I posted it. And everybody's like, she's joking with Islam.
Right.
Yeah, they weren't understanding, but I still had growing to do. It was just so many things that I still was learning, but I knew Islam was the truth and I wanted to spread the truth. I wanted to spread the peace that I felt again.
Yeah.
I feel like everyone should be able to witness that sense of peace, because I have everything. Nothing can give you that, so.
Yeah. So, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I forgot.
I was going to say, it's interesting because, and I think we may have to go for a break after this, but it's interesting that a lot of times you would think that someone who's not living in like the 5 daily prayers, maybe like du'as, morning and evening afkar, like the typical like day-to-day Muslim lifestyle, like a lot of people will judge that either that Muslim or that non-Muslim, right? Saying that, Allah is not with you. Allah is not like, Allah is with those who remember him all the time, and while that's true, Allah doesn't just depart from any of his creations, right? Allah is always ever present. That's for non-Muslims, for sinners, for people of all different lifestyles. So Allah might send you that dream, right? And everything is through his qadr anyway, right? He's ever present in everyone's life, whether you are in your sinning phase of life, whether you are in your, you know, your uphill battles, whether you're dealing with the depression or health, or I think that's really important to understand that that young dream that you had early on, that you felt like Allah was guiding you with that dream. Then you went through a lifestyle, right? And then Allah's sending you a second dream. These are signs, right? I feel like these are signs, and you felt like these are signs, and that's all that really matters. I know people might be wondering, she's had all this dream, this light dream, all this being. No, I don't invalidate what anybody is saying, right? Because this is how Allah pierces the heart in various different ways for various different people. And what matters is that when we are away from him, we're on a journey towards him. You know, like when you came on TikTok, what did you say? You're a Muslim. What do people say? Oh, invalidated. Oh, she's posing, like she's acting as if, like, Muslims are some of the most vilified people on earth. Like, why would you want to behave, like pretend to be a Muslim, pretend to be something else? Right? Islamophobia is violent. Like, why would we ever want to pretend? Like, this is our actual deen and lifestyle. And what we know about faith is that it goes up and it goes down. Sometimes that down is 10 years of down. But when it goes up, subhanAllah, like, it's as if it was down for that long for a reason, so that the high could just feel that much more appreciated, right? Mm-hmm. And this show, I love to emphasize on points that make us less judgmental as a Muslim community, because guaranteed when you're on TikTok and you have no hijab on and you were talking about the hadith, probably 90% of the comments was Muslims saying to you that, hey, like, what are you even doing with our deen? Meanwhile, that's your deen too. Mm-hmm. So we do have to take a break. Okay. And we'll come back with Amanda and her incredible story of transformation after the break. Welcome back to This Hijabi Life. Today we've been talking to Amanda from Soul Royalty, and we were just talking about her transformation from a very successful lash and wig business, and then kind of pivoting her lifestyle to a more Islamic lifestyle, right? So by your words, you said that your business might not have been the most halal venture for you, and it's not something that you wanted to continue. And you're only 23 years old, so this was what, like 3 years ago or so-ish?
No, it was, I want to say a year or two ago.
SubhanAllah. So yeah. This shift is very, very recent, like way more recent than I even thought. Yeah. So now you have Soul Royalty, which is a business about what? You tell us what your business is. And I'm wearing it right now, so yeah. By the way.
I see. So how Soul Royalty started it was right before my 22nd birthday. And although I was praying, I was still selling hair, still around those people because it was what I knew. But I just got tired of it. Like, I was like, when are you going to change? When are you going to like actually follow your deen properly and be, you know, yourself? Because you're lying to yourself right now. If you think you can just continue being half this, half that, it doesn't work. It doesn't correlate. So right before my 22nd birthday, I had this whole outfit planned. It was skimpy, it was short, and I had the option to either wear that or an abaya that I had in my closet. Mm-hmm. I had this pink abaya in my closet that I wanted to wear, but I just never did, you know? So it was in me to change my wardrobe. I already had some of the things sitting in my closet, but I was just kind of scared, you know? It's a big transition. So it was right before my 22nd birthday, and I had the option to wear the abaya or the outfit, the mini outfit. I said, no, let's wear the abaya. Mm-hmm. Let's wear the abaya. I wore it, and I felt so good. Now, I made a video. On TikTok. It's still there. And I said, hey, my beautiful people, make dua for me. I'm going to dress like this for the rest of my life, inshallah. Make dua for me that I can stay solid on this. And it went viral. And then that's when it started, the modesty journey, me showing my outfits and showing what I'm wearing for today. And I just started falling in love with the bias and modest wear because it made me feel like this is how I'm supposed to dress. This is really who I'm supposed to be. This is who I am. I never felt like I was in I never felt like I was myself in the miniskirt. I never felt like I was myself in that short dress. No, that's not me. I felt like, ew, like why are you showing everything? Why are you showing everything like that? But
Yeah.
I did. So now I know, and I came up with the idea of Soul Royalty because I wanted to start selling this. I wanted to push this out.
Yeah.
When I realized the impact that I had with the wigs, it was one day I was driving and I'm just thinking, like Allah just making me come to realization of this business. And one of the things that I thought was, so you were telling people that they weren't beautiful enough,
Mm.
that they weren't beautiful enough and they needed a wig to be beautiful. You were telling them that what God gave them as their hair is not good enough, so they wore a wig. You sell a wig, and I was like, no, I can't push this. I can't. So that's not what my intentions were. And then that's when I came out with Soul Royalty because I wanted to come out with a brand that can make people know that modesty is power. Modesty is worth, like, this is queen status. This is real. You want to talk about high class, high level. This is what high level is.
Yeah.
Covering yourself, walking around with dignity and respect, not conforming to society's norms. So I came up with the name Soul Royalty because I wanted to find a way to describe how I felt that day when I wore the pink abaya.
Mm-hmm.
How did I feel? I felt like a queen.
Yeah.
I felt like a queen.
Mashallah.
So that's why I call it Soul Royalty.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's a common, I feel like it's a common, when you see those videos where women will like wear a hijab, like in the, like wear a hijab for a day type, social experiment thing. I have yet to see a reaction of a woman who's never seen herself covered. And then she puts it on just for like the moment, just for the, the TikTok or whatever. And it's not her lifestyle. It's not her childhood. It's just for the even just for the moment. She's like, wow. Like it's as if she sees something internal that she's never seen before, just because the external is not validating you before you even get to who you really are. Right. Because a lot of times, like, you're just being judged by like what your hair looks like, what your makeup looks like, where you got your lashes from, like, is your wig laid, like, or, do you have the right look, right? Yeah. And what hijab does is it has this beautiful, like, elegant way of just taking the power back from that person, telling you that the way that you look, the way that you performed your beauty for them is going to let them treat you in one way or the next, validate this or that. For us, it's just completely erased. So now you have to see the human that I am, or you should see the human that I am. Right. And so I think it's just such an elegant, I love it's called Soul Royalty because it really does make people feel that way. And, I used to work on runway. So I would work with a lot of, models, putting hijab on them for like abayas on the runway and things like that. Like designers would send me their collection. I'd put it on models and they would feel like that even that catwalk, like down the runway was their most empowered step on that runway, because they didn't have to worry about the scars on their knees or like the stretch marks on their arm or like whatever else that the audience is looking at that's going to be photographed, that's going to be videotaped. It was just about the flow of the abaya. Right. And that dignity, they said that I would ask them, when I'm taking it back off for them to now put on something else, that may not be so covered. I'm like, so how did it feel, And they're like, oh my God, that was amazing. And now I know how you guys feel. I'm like, yes, we've been trying to tell you.
Definitely.
So let's get into the reaction of your former friends, your family. So you wore that pink abaya. You felt great. You felt so royalty. What did people say about your new shift?
Honestly, no one really came to me and said anything, negative. They probably said it behind my back, but if it's not addressed, it's not respected.
Right.
No one ever said anything bad about it. No one has ever, if anything, I had a few people say, I'm proud of you, for your shift. And they're still living that way, but they said that to me. So,
Yeah.
I appreciate it, but I don't do it for the people. I'm doing this for me. I'm doing this for Allah. So whatever they think, that's irrelevant. Any store I walk into, 9 times out of 10, I'm the only hijabi there. Especially where I live, there's not a lot of Muslims here, especially Black Muslims. There's a lot of, Bengali, Asians, but Black Muslim walking around with the hijab, you won't find that in South Florida. So,
Yeah.
I'm being myself. I've always been never stood in. I never stood in, like I never fit in with the crowd when I was elementary, middle school. I've always wanted to though. I've always wanted to. I'm like, why y'all can't just let me in? Like, why y'all can't? But that's just what Allah has planned for me. So
Yeah. And that sometimes that fear of what people will say, because people anticipate that it will be negative,
yeah,
that fear will hold people back. How many, I hope this episode reaches the right women, if it's 1 or 1,000, right? That is looking at you and thinking, okay, I'm living a certain lifestyle, or I have a certain business, or I have a certain whatever that I know is not Islamically aligned, but in my soul, I'm a Muslim. And I need that to start to manifest in my actions. But it's hard. It's scary, right? Even just wearing hijab is scary, sometimes for people. And that fear can really hold people back. And what you're saying is you had the whole lifestyle. Not only did you have, the mini skirts or like whatever else it was, but you had a whole lifestyle that was financially setting you up. Okay. It has set you up. And it's kind of scary to then say, okay, I'm not even wigs. Now I'm going to cover my hair. It's a whole different shift. And what was the backlash? You said nothing. Everybody was good.
So what happened was when I stopped selling hair, I made a video and I said, I'm not selling hair anymore.
Yeah.
All of my customers, all of my returning customers, everyone's like, why?
Yeah.
They don't understand it. They don't understand why people still to this day, my customers still to this day ask me, can I get the vendor? Why you don't sell hair anymore? What's going on? Some people will never understand. That's just what it is. But those who are meant to understand, they will. And inshallah, they understand one day. But that's probably the only people who really said anything. No one personally, not really anything personally, but from the outside, yeah.
You get people like wanting the wig, basically.
They still want it.
Yeah. What about your parents, your precious father and your mom? What did they think about your change?
Oh, they loved it. They loved it. My mom, when I told her I'm going to put on the hijab, she said, are you sure? Are you sure? Because I'm the type of person, hold on. But I said, no, I'm sure about this. I'm going to put it on. I won't take it off, because once you put on the hijab, you just can't take it off, especially if you're on social media. So I just decided to go full on all the way because this is who I find myself. Like, this is who I truly am. I'm a good person deep down. And Islam gives you a gateway for you to be a good person, like in the real world, by God. So, yeah.
MashaAllah. Okay, so we have to go back into a break. But after the break, we're going to talk a little bit more to Amanda about the fact that she's a Sudanese woman and she's recently gotten an award for some work she's done for this plight of the Sudanese people. So we'll talk to Amanda about that and wrap up after the break. Welcome back to This Hijabi Life. Today we've been talking to Amanda from Soul Royalty, and Amanda is Sudanese, and I thought it would be a missed opportunity, of course, for me to not mention that currently Sudan is going through a genocide of unimaginable proportions, and Amanda has recently gotten an award for her humanitarian work for Sudan. So tell us a little bit more about your work.
Yes, so my main goal in life is to be a philanthropist. I love to give, so I want to be able to implement that into my my existence. So what better way to start with your country, where you're from? So I'm closely working with the Sudanese American for Citizens Association, which is an organization where they provide on-ground work to the people in Sudan. And basically, I make videos for them, I promote them, and we raise a lot of money to help fund the the reconstruction of the people of Sudan's lives. So they gave me an award. It was unexpected. I went to the event. They invited me there. I went, and they had an award ceremony. So right before they were about to start their award ceremony, I said I said I gotta go to the bathroom. I went to the bathroom. I went to the bathroom, and I got all my phone blowing up. They called your name for an award. They called your name for an award. I'm like, what? I went back in there, missed my moment. Missed
Oh man.
the moment, but I went back there. I said, "Hey, is there an award with my name on it?" And they said, "Yeah, we were looking for you." They gave me the award. Yeah, it really wasn't anything I was expecting. I didn't want anything in return. I'm not. One thing about me, I would never work with a charity organization and expect anything. I don't want no. This is not. I don't want money from you. I don't want anything from you. I'm doing this because I want to do it. So
Yeah. Mashallah. I think it's very telling that your goal is to be a philanthropist, because that already speaks to generosity. It speaks to compassion. It speaks to empathy. It speaks to, like, what Allah says about zakat and sadaqah is that it purifies your wealth, right? So I think from before that when you have lots of wealth, it can also just come with, instead of happiness, it can come with like loneliness or a loss of purpose. Or, you see it, look at celebrity culture, and Hollywood is literally crumbling before our very eyes. And I actually love to see it, because people have been saying like that they are very, very rich, very, very depressed, right? And are they purifying that wealth, right? And is the wealth coming in from halal means? Because Allah is in control of everything, not just Muslim lives, but everything, right? So there's this hadith, or this surah actually says, "A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem, bismillahir rahmanir rahim, alhaakumut takathur hatta zurtumul maqabir." And every time I recite that, literally I get chills. I don't have wealth, right? So I don't got that problem. But whatever you do have, you still have to purify that, right? Because what Allah says in that ayah is that it will pile up, and it will, like, you will become delusional about it, right? It will be like what blinds you. You will go through life doing all these things, piling it up. And then what will be your reality is when you meet that grave, right? And all of that is left in this dunya. And what do you have left? And a lot of times Muslims I think oh, well, then that means we're not supposed to have, successful businesses. We're not supposed to have like wealth. No, you can have it. But like Amanda said, her goal is to be a philanthropist. It's to purify that, because when you give, it doesn't decrease your wealth. It actually increases it. Like, the perspective is completely different than what the dunya might allude you to. So I love that. Mashallah. Now, your TikToks are very funny sometimes, right? Because what you do is that you deliver this very impactful kind of, with attitude, straight to the point, right? Enlightenment. And then you say a phrase at the end. And what do you say?
Allahumma barik.
Allahumma barik, right. So at the end of all of our episodes, we always end with, kind of a final word, like a wrap up. And I would love if you could deliver it in the style of one of your TikToks. It's kind of on the fly. If you can't right now, I understand. But like, I would love for it to be that way, because, hey, like that's just what you do, right? But first, tell us where we can connect with your philanthropy work. Tell us where we can connect with your abayas and hijabs and matching jersey sets and like perfume. You sell perfume. Tell us, where we can buy those things and support your work. And then your final words with the Allahumma barik at the end.
You can follow my TikTok at YRMANDAA, YRManda, with 2 A's. And then you can follow my Instagram, YRManda.a. And then you can check out my YouTube, which is YR space Manda, Young Rich Manda everywhere.
Oh, is that what the YR is for? Okay.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
know.
yeah, that's what it stands for. And then you can check out my business page, Soul Royalty, SOO Royalty, and Soul Royalty Beauty, SO Royalty Beauty on Instagram. And check out our website, of course, so sooroyalty.com.
Nice.
Yes. Now for the final words. Okay, I don't think y'all ready for this one.
Right. Let me sit back and receive.
Okay. Anytime you depend on people, prepare for disappointment. But every time you depend on Allah, prepare for greatness. Trust Allah. Don't trust anyone or anything else. Allahumma barik.
Allahumma barik, mashallah. Thank you so much, Amanda, for being here. I really, really appreciate it. I'm a big fan, and so this has been like a geeked out moment for me.
Allah.
But alhamdulillah, I'm glad that Muslim Network TV has you on the platform and you graced us with your presence. So jazakallah khair.
Jazakallah. Thank you so much. I appreciate you for supporting me. And of course, you know, I will always support you, my beautiful sister. Check out her hijabi pins. Did you buy it? Check out her pins. Okay. Yes. But yes, guys, thank you.
I appreciate it. I always give a little wrap up as well, but I think I kind of delved into it just a little bit with those ayat. I think I mentioned those ayat before as well when I was talking to a millionaire hijab company owner named Marwa from Valshik. It's a former episode, so check that episode out as well. I think it's really important to emphasize the fact that this is a young woman, okay? Amanda is 23 years old, okay? And she's gone through some things that none of us have gone through and has, you know, transformed her life in a way that some of us are very scared to, right? Going from success, financial stability, so stable that you don't have to worry about going to college because a degree could never bring you more of a check than the wigs and the lashes could. Like, subhanAllah, some of us don't know that. And so it's not for us to judge, but to learn from it, right? Because not only did she go through that, build that, and then transform through the dreams, through the Quran, through, you know, just that switch from the skirt to the abaya. I mean, these are things that are transformative, not just for her, but if we are listening with our hearts, then it could be transformative for us too. So as we're watching this episode, what are some of the things that we could be doing in our lives to transform and get closer to Allah? None of us are perfect. None of us are in a place of, you know, loftiness where we can look down on anyone. And so what kind of things can you cleanse yourself from when you're seeing, you know, your sisters or brothers in Islam? What are the things that you can do to purify your wealth and cleanse your wealth? And just live in this dunya as if you're passing through, and whoever you interact with, you have a positive interaction with that person, and you grow from things, because when we meet that qabr, that grave on the Day of Judgment, we will not bring with us any of these things, not our beauty, not our jobs, not our cars, nothing will come with us. It will only be our deeds. And I think Amanda is a great example of, you know, learning that early on, making that switch early on, and then changing to something that is better for her dunya and akhirah. So I think we can take a lot of inspiration from that. So thank you so much for joining us on this episode. Be sure to share it with your friends. And of course, we will be having another amazing interview with another hijabi woman talking about faith, fashion, and being visibly Muslim in the modern world. So until then, stay blessed and covered beautifully.